Spectacular Saturday in South Australia, and Adelaide really gets behind this event. The 14th running of the Clipsal 500, held first back in 1999. The two 250k legs were considered one race back then, and they were taken out by this man. So Craig Lowndes was the inaugural Clipsal 500 winner, and he will start from pole position today. So 250k's is the breakdown today, which is 78 laps around here, and it is warm. In fact, you'd say it's hot, and it's just got hotter, 31 degrees. But our resident meteorologist, Mr. Neil Crompton, has been checking it out, and they're saying it's going to get wet, mate.
How come I get labelled with that tag every year? I'm sorry, folks, about my colleagues. You can see that on the radar just to the west and northwest of Adelaide at the moment, it certainly looks a little bit ominous out there. It's dark out over the Gulf. So we'll see whether or not there's going to be some showers. They're talking light showers from around about this time of day. Here's the track, and what a beauty it is. 14 turns. Stop it, you two. It's too early in the year for this. 145 kilometres an hour is the average speed. Top speed here, 245 k's. The slowest corner is at turn 9. And it's also a great passing opportunity down at the hairpin, just a little on over 60 kilometres per hour. And as always, this is going to be a massively busy motor race. Because of the nature of the place, there's no resting opportunities. It's a concrete canyon. We've got another cracker crowd here this year. The numbers here yesterday were just extraordinary on the Friday, and we saw some great activity. We had 4 practice sessions qualifying and the shootout.
Something that we've introduced this year, and we're going to kick it off right now, is an Access All Areas pass, and we've decided today to go straight down to the man who will give us something all the time, Gary Rogers from Fujitsu GRM. You're all mic'd up, wired up and ready to go. What can you tell? What on earth have you done?
Well, I'm feeling a bit like a movie star here, but I'll do my best to be normal, if that's possible.
Your guys have got a bit of work to do, and we've just spoken to Alex Premier. What are you expecting today, mate?
Well, I mean, Robbo should do a good job here. We weren't overly happy with what we did for his tyres for qualifying, but he's better than where his grid spot is. With Alex, I think, look, you know, he'll go okay, but it's all fresh and it's new. And in fairness, I do think it's probably a bit bigger than he thought. But he's mature, sensible, and I think he'll put himself in the race when it matters.
Hey, Gary, Mark Scaife, what have you done to your noggin there? You got your little bit of a white little bandage on the top of your head there. What have you done?
Scaife, the fact is I was out last night with a couple of beers with my buddies. Someone abused you, and you know what happens, which you should see them.
Yeah, you stuck
Good
up
answer.
for Scaife. That's rare. That's very rare. Thanks, mate. We're going to check in with you.
See you, boys.
The boss of GRM, so we'll get to check in with Gary as the course of the day goes on. It's quite interesting, isn't it? You talk to these guys, and I did say yesterday and again this morning, everybody's really happy to tell you about their off-season. We went on holidays, and now it's getting down to the business side of things, and the chat is getting shorter. And they're getting nervous. They really are. I just had a chat to Will Davis, and he just said to me, mate, the nerves are kicking in now.
Well, they've done a heavy amount of public relations and media work in the last couple of weeks, so they've talked themselves inside out. They just want to go car racing now, and they've got a big season ahead. Russell Ingall, he's moved camps. There's been a lot of movement this year. Super Cheap Auto Racing stays on the car, but the architecture is different. It's a Walkinshaw racing car. He's down the order in position 20 there at the moment. This is Greg Murphy, Pepsi Max Crew. New livery on this car, and Murph finds himself in 21st position. Think of the calibre of those guys, the things they've achieved in V8 supercars, and look where they are in the field. You only have to sneeze and you're back in the pack. Here's Garth Tander, front row start for the man who won the race here on Saturday last year. That's the view he gets from the windscreen of his car down to turn 1. He's on the, well, he's on the inside for the first left-hander, Scaife, and you could debate whether the track's cleaner or dirtier on that side at that particular point where he is.
Yeah, normally the left-hand side is slightly better than the right, and Garth's a very good starter, so if you had to have your money on it, I would think that he'll take some beating to get to the first corner. But again, as Garth said, when Mark Beretta caught up with him before the start, he was explaining this is a long race, so you don't do anything silly through that first chicane, and everyone else in the middle of the field, it'll be pretty serious at that stage.
All right, let's run you through the Fuso start grid for the first race of the year, and of course the class of 2012. Lowndes and Tander, 7 race wins between them here, more than 850 race starts between them. Will Davison and Jonathan Webb from Techno Autosports, his best career qualifier on the second row. Jamie Whincup, that's the first time in 2006 he hasn't been on the front row for a race at this street circuit. Back to positions 9 and 10 we go. Fabian Coulthard now out of Bradley Jones Racing for Lockwood. He's got Shane Van Gisbergen next to him. 11 and 12 go to Todd Kelly and Tony D'Alberto. 13 and 14, James Courtney for HRT and Jack Daniels Racing. Car number 15, former winner around here, Rick Kelly. They have now parted ways in terms of teams, but they're still joined at the hip. Lee Holdsworth and Michael Caruso start alongside each other. Steve Owen is now out of Dick Johnson Racing, and he starts next to Stevie Johnson, James Moffat and Russell Ingall, as we mentioned, now in car 66. Greg Murphy is back in car 51. Dean Fiore has gone to Jim Beam Racing. Position 23 goes to Taz Douglas, driving for Lucas Dumbrell, and Alex Premier makes his V8 Supercar debut next to him. Then it is David Wall in position number 25. And to the rear of the grid, we got Michael Patrizzi, who was sent to the back for not observing the flags during qualifying. So 28 starters, 17 Holdens, 11 Fords.
Well, boys, we've done a few of these races between the three of us, or sorry, Matty, not including you. And this is going to be typically one of those tough, hot days. Just got the hot gun down here on the tarmac. 44 degrees on the face of the tarmac. I put it on Will Davo's roof just before he left, 57 degrees. So the cockpits of those cars are extreme.
Thanks, Mark Larkin. We were looking at Jason Bright, the back of the Team BOC car. He'll be starting from pit lane. Alex Premer will be doing the same for Fujitsu Racing. Mark Winterbottom, broken bone in his left ankle, water skiing a couple of days before New Year's Eve. This is James Moffat, new livery on the Norton car for 2012. Dick Johnson Racing, beautiful looking car, and he's looking forward to a big season. 4 cars from that outfit this year, and as I said several times in the lead up to this show, there's been an enormous amount of rearrangement in this paddock to try and beat these guys here. Don't forget, if you're out and about, your Telstra NextG Mobile is the place where you can see your V8 Supercar action.
About 150 mil.
Every millimetre counts at the start of this race. There's Stephen Johnson. So you'll get used to new liveries and guys who have swapped teams and swapped cars, swapped makes.
One of the reasons why Bright will have done this, didn't qualify particularly well, so they'll have actually squirted some more fuel in this thing, and they'll be trying to make sure, there's Prema, they'll be trying to make sure that they can run the car longer in this first stint.
So he'll be out of harm's way, Alex Premer, at the start of this race. Jason Bright with him in pit lane at the front of this grid. Craig Lowndes, second in the championship last year against Garth Tander. And we're underway for 2012, and Tander's going to cut across in front of Lowndes. Tander will go through to the first chicane and take the lead of the race from the pole sitter.
Terrible start. Jonathan Webb dropped right back. He's lost about 6 or 7 spots from 4th.
Good jump, Tander. Look at this down the inside. Oh, always awkward down here. That was the Kelly's nose to tail, and the Jack Daniels cars actually made contact at turn 4. Tander, Lowndes. Then it's Will Davis and Jamie Whincup, Mark Winterbottom, Davey Reynolds. Line astern on the run to turn 7 in the leaf debris.
Around 7 unleashes them on to Brock Straight. Tony D'Alberto's looking pretty aggressive. Oh, push wide. Now down to turn 8, 245 Ks on approach.
Courtney's on the radio with some sort of problem. They're encouraging him to get back into rhythm, but he's lost a lot of ground. There he is, car 22 this year, if you're having trouble picking him up. New colours on the Holden Racing Team cars as we go back to the leaders. It is Tander from Lowndes, and then a small gap back to Will Davison. Remember, they do this on full fuel, 75 litres and cold tyres, and they're racing very hard at the start, trying to find the right level of grip with essentially cold everything, brakes, tyres, you name it.
Lowndes ranges right up into the back of Tander at turn 1. Great shot through there. About 150 Ks over that curb. And now the bumpy section of turn 4. This is on board with Tander, looking back at Lowndes. And you know what Lowndes is like? He moves the nose around. You can see him all the time. He just fires the car down the inside. He's right up in behind at 7.
And he always carries more speed from turn into the apex. He rushes at the corner harder, but Garth, on occasion, will get off it a little quicker and a little cleaner, but it's a close battle at the moment. A 1:28.0 standing lap time for Tander on the first lap, and the first sector fastest split we've seen already to Todd Kelly. He got a tag from his brother. He's down in 11th. Look at this down the inside now for Jamie, and puts a move on his old mate Will. So Team Vodafone now 2nd and 3rd.
Told Holden Racing Team Mike Henry tells me that James Courtney got a tap in the rear. Hasn't caused any problem, they don't think, to the car, but just knocked him around a little bit, Neil.
And Ford Performance Racing 4th. 5th and 6th. So Davison in 4th, Winterbottom in 5th, and David Reynolds has moved up from 8th position in the Bottleoaf entry. The second time around, Tander. Lowndes is waiting to pounce. Fastest lap that time goes to Jamie Whincup in 3rd. They skip through the chicane. Jonathan Webb there, Techno Autosports, car 19. Behind him, Tim Slade.
There was no doubt for me that Whincup's time in the shootout wasn't really representative. The car didn't look good when we were looking over his shoulder in the onboard camera. They've clearly got a race set up that's working on the car. He's coming at these guys in the lead at the moment. Tander, Lowndes, Whincup, 1, 2 and 3. They've eased away slightly now from Davison and Winterbottom.
And for sure, Craig Lowndes will be energised to get by Tander because his teammates ranged up behind. You want to have a bit of gap to your teammate when the strategies start to unfold. In fact, it's going to be an interesting strategy battle now when you've got 2 888 cars right together and 3 FPR cars right together. Here comes Lowndes. Tander moves across. I'm surprised by that because you don't need to get involved in your own race after only 3 laps of 78. Lowndes looks like he's got pace on Tander.
Garth Tander won the race here last year on the Saturday from pole position, and effectively that's what he ended up with. He grabbed the lead of the race from Craig Lowndes by the time they got to the chicane. And this is how he did it, just cut across straight away. To our left, his right, intentions were really clear.
You got a very good jump, Matt. Have a look at this jump. So that first jump there, that was a really good, not only reaction time, but a really good amount of grip that it had, and then he was able to move it across nicely in front of Craig. Craig didn't have to get out of the throttle, and this is the drama with Courtney. He lost 7 positions on the opening lap, and you watch, he gets hit there by Murphy, right out over the edge.
Taz Douglas, I'm sure, squeezed Murph into Courtney. I knew Murph was caught up in it, and I didn't know how. That explains it. Okay.
That's the Whincup pass.
Nice job.
Got the spot.
That was down the inside of Will Davison. We saw that down at turn 9 a lap or so ago. And he almost drilled the back of his teammate when he got through there then. So you have to be a bit careful when you make those sorts of dive bomb moves. And he's very close to giving his teammate one now. That was very tight between the 2 Vodafone Commodores. A late, very last minute manoeuvre up the inside, and there was no paint between those 2 cars. Did a good job not to make contact.
Jamie actually had to really work to avoid then because he was half a chance to end up in the rear quarter panel of Lowndes' car. Here we are again, and Craig leaves him some space. This is actually very awkward because now Jamie's got to try and find the long way round down at turn 1. Vodafone second and third arguing. This actually lets Tander off the hook slightly. He's got now 0.8 of a second over these guys.
And it's allowed Garth Tander to set the fastest lap of the race, which had belonged to Jamie Whincup. And now Whincup's decided to pick a fight with his teammate. Just 4 laps into the new season. And this is on. Adrian Burgess in the middle there, playing referee between Jeremy Moore and Mark Dutton. Craig Lowndes and Jamie Whincup's respective engineers.
And just before the Whincup dive, it looked like Lowndes was really going to attack Tander. But the pressure from Whincup has pulled both cars back away from the Toll HRT car of Tander. And Tander now with about a half a second gap over the 2 other red cars.
1:22.8 for Tander in the lead. Half a second is that gap. Tim Slade's done the fastest split to the first timing sector on this lap. They've actually all tightened up again as everybody's sort of found balance with their cars, played with the
there's one in the fence. There's one in the fence hard at turn 8.
And Douglas is gone. There must be oil down there. There's stuff down there because they're spearing off everywhere. Taz Douglas has gone into the wall on the other side. Courtney was the first in, and somebody else has followed them heavily. It's Jason Bright. Big incident down here at turn 8.
Now, I think there's contact before the corner, Matt. Because, man...
There was oil down there, man.
Yeah, so he arrived on the scene and couldn't do a thing about it. And you'll see that James Courtney, you picked it, Scafey. James Courtney is the first to go in heavily too. And Taz Douglas, as we've seen so often, will spear over to the other side. So there's James. Now watch this. Douglas gets a clip at the back and will spear over to the other side. There he is. And by this time, Jason Bright arrives. That's what you heard then. Oh, man.
Big contact for Courtney. And Bright was talking about there being oil down there. So whether that was there before or after the fact, but certainly Bright has ended up in the mess that Courtney's left behind. But wonder why Courtney ended up in there in the first instance.
He's saying on the radio that something broke in the back. And that is a very big incident. I've gone in that fence like that, and I can tell you it is as hard and as the most severe incident in this country is that corner. And turn 8, we've seen it over the years. The force to move that 4-ton block is unbelievable.
How's Stephen Johnson coming around there too, behind that? And he came around there sideways.
So just to reiterate the numbers, it's a 245 km/h approach. In the middle of the corner, it's just over 215 kilometres an hour.
Taz Douglas is out of the car. We've heard from Jason Bright. And typically, turn 8 is the first turn where it's really started to bite. We'll take a break as the Petters safety car starts to patrol.
Hey, just continue to hold safety car. The car coming to you should be car 2. That is the leader.
Safety car continuing to hold, awaiting leader, car 2.
Safety car, you'll have the leader in sight shortly, car 2. Safety car, just maintain 60, going through. Cars in the far, cars in the far. Go, 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 go. Move him behind, move him behind. Go, 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 come here, so it means 8 millimeters. Okay, copy that, thanks, mate.
Only one big hit. 3 cars have been taken out of this race. That's one of them. The I-Select entry from Lucas Dumbrell Motorsport of Taz Douglas, who has driven here before. It's a sorry sight as they head back towards the garage, and maybe this might have something to do with it. Remember earlier where Douglas squeezed Greg Murphy onto James Courtney at the exit of turn 7. Perhaps that may have broken something in car 22, which a lap later goes spearing into the wall at maximum speed down at the end of Brock Straight at turn 8. Now, there's Douglas, who ends up on the inside wall. Check this out. First up, James Courtney. Then Taz Douglas follows, and watch for Jason Bright. This is a really big hit.
And Bright was already crossed up before he got to the apex of turn 8. And Scafey and I were talking in the break here. It's interesting because Bright came along after a couple of other cars, and you would have expected if it was a lot of oil that the other cars would have been affected, and they included James Moffat, and I can't pick up who the other one is, but Bright was behind them. They weren't affected, he was. So it may have been very line specific if there was oil down there.
It is strange to have, you know, 2 cars in real drama and then have 2 or 3 cars in the middle of that then that weren't affected, and then obviously Jason Bright, big incident, and all 3 cars very heavily damaged.
Hey, just prior to that incident, really interested in the dynamics between Jamie Whincup and Craig Lowndes. I might just try and grab a quick word with Roland Dame, team principal. Roland, just watching you 2 boys there at the front of the field dicing. Yeah, exactly. I left you alone while it was happening. But how do you manage that contractually, or do you have a chat with the boys? I mean, because the problem is when they race like that, they lose the leader.
Yeah, they do a bit, but it's early days, and it's the first race of the championship, so you don't want to try and wind anyone back. They know the rules in terms of, they shouldn't really be touching each other. They should be racing hard. And the end of the day, I think they're both quicker than Garth, but they might give them a bit of a break now, but they'll probably get it back later on if we're fast enough genuinely. So I'm not that worried as long as they keep it tidy.
I know Jamie's car was a little nervous in qualifying. One thing was for sure, the thing looks very fast there today.
Yeah, I mean, in qualifying there were 1 or 2 things that probably just weren't quite right, but Jamie's got a habit of nailing it pretty well around this circuit, so he's got a fantastic track record here, so you can't take that away from him. He'll be there or thereabouts.
All right, mate, good luck.
Thank you.
There's still a lot of analysis going on here over James Courtney's car at the Toll Holden Racing team. Mike Henry just talking to Damien White. If we can grab a quick word with Mike, just to check. Sorry, Mike, to interrupt. Can I just check, firstly, James Courtney, okay?
Yeah, he's okay, mate. I mean, obviously, you're going pretty hard there, don't you? So, no matter how good he is, it's still going to give you a shake-up.
And the car, do we know what happened?
Not yet, not until we have a look. We've got some data to look through when we finally get it out of the car. Obviously, looking at the footage, a couple went in, so that would indicate one thing, but at this point, without looking at information, we just don't know yet.
Right, early to say, but your thoughts on tomorrow? Can you get the car ready?
Oh, no doubt, mate. We'll always, if we're here all night, we'll get it ready, The Red Army, they'd kill us if we didn't, and... tomorrow's a whole new race, new qual, so we have to get it out. I mean, barring problems with the cage, we'll get it out, whatever it takes.
All right, mate. Good luck.
Thank you.
Well, that will definitely be an all-nighter. Well done, Barretts. That car, you see the left-hand side of it, it's basically torn the left-hand side out of it, and we think that there may be some damage from the original contact that we saw there with Greg Murphy. So James Courtney reported something broken in the back, and you can see how early he went in the fence. He didn't even get round the corner, really. The car was already totally sideways before it went in the left-hand wall at turn 8. And as Neil was saying, it's about 215, 220 kilometres an hour. That is a real bell ringer.
Yeah, very uncomfortable to be involved in one of those. The expectation is that the Peters safety car will pull off. That's the corner that we were talking about. Yes, the lights are now out on the safety car, so the field will fall under the control of Garth Tander. And they've got to maintain a gap of no less, or no more, I should say, than 5 car lengths between each other at this point, and Garth has the call. And once they get to the apex of the final corner, they can overlap but not pass before they get back to the control line.
So always an interesting restart here. We often say safety cars bring safety cars, but what will be very interesting is how much oil is still down at turn 8. You have to be very careful with your line not to get caught up in the same stuff that Courtney, Bright and Douglas did.
You'll take an almighty deep breath on the way in there, especially Garth, who'll be the first man to arrive. Now, Craig Lowndes has made sure that he's not letting Garth go here, but he's dropped away his teammate, Jamie Whincup, so Tander and Lowndes are going to skip away straight up. Bit of a gap back to Whincup. Will Davison is 4th, and that's extraordinary. Lowndes was onto it, and the front 2 have dropped away those behind.
Bit of a lazy restart there for Whincup. Lowndes was straight onto it. Tander got started. He started his lap very early. and Lowndes went straight with him, but he caught Jamie Whincup and Will Davison napping. You can see that big gap. This will all come back. It will not affect Jamie in the end, but certainly very good restart for Lowndes.
And Lowndes always looks aggressive at the in the immediate moments after the restart. His nose is ducking and diving every which way. He knows that this is when the competition's at their most vulnerable on colder tyres. So he's right under the rear wing now of Tander, in the danger zone at turn 8 from that previous incident. Lowndes actually sacrifices some track on the outside. Whincup's move there as we look to David Reynolds as well. Probably not bad, because being a few car lengths behind his teammate means he's got his own fresh air, which allows him to get in the rhythm to keep Will Davison at bay. If he was kind of found himself bottled up in the battle, he could actually be vulnerable to Will.
Yeah, that's a good point. And also what it did is it gave him a little bit of sighting room for turn 8. You know what it's like when you arrive there and you can see the car in front of a slide based on having oil on the road. You give yourself a little bit of room for error. So as it's turned out for Whincup, it hasn't hurt him. And good restart for Tander, because he's just snuck away a little bit on Lowndes.
These top 3 have won 13 races at their street circuit between them.
So Jonathan Webb still in 7th position. He's in the white car behind David Reynolds there. Fabian Coulthard as well in position 9 for Lockwood. New colours on that car. New arrangement for him. This is the restart, and that's the margin from our chopper between Craig Lowndes and Jamie Whincup at the restart. That's right on the margin. Look at this, up the inside, change on here, yes! Change for the leaders, Lowndes goes down the inside. Tander on the other side of the curb at 7. They will run side by side. There's a rule here in terms of who yields. This is going to be a tough call, and it is Lowndes' corner. Wow. Tander drops back into 2nd because he's now got Whincup all over him. He's down the inside, Tander.
On the dirty side of the track, you can see the dirt flying up in the air. So down at turn 9, they're all stacked together. And Will Davison may be the beneficiary out here. Lowndes leads. There's Tander. Will on the inside. He gets up to 3rd. Pushes Whincup back to 4th.
Here comes Winterbottom
on the inside. So Winterbottom will take 4th if he can hold off Jamie Whincup. No, not this time.
Have a go at Davey Reynolds on the inside of Mark Winterbottom. It's game on there. That'll be a good chat in the debrief, that one.
Well, they touched. They definitely touched. And out of it all, David Reynolds appears in front of his Ford Performance Racing stablemate. Tim Slade's there as well.
Isn't that amazing? That all started back at turn 7. It didn't finally unravel until we got to the last corner on the track, turn 14. And they're all Morse coding on each other. Here's Greg Murphy with damage in the front right corner of the Pepsi car. He's into the pits to have a look at that.
That was an amazing lap. That was just fantastic motor racing. So Lowndes up the inside at this spot here, turn 7. He gets it done. And then it become absolute chaos behind, because Whincup was wide, Tander was down the inside, Davison around the outside. And then Davey Reynolds attacks Mark Winterbottom. It was just fantastic motorsport.
Let's go for Jason Bright just out of the medical centre and check up. Jason, firstly, just to confirm you're all okay?
Well, I got a bit of a sore shoulder. The medical team didn't actually pick me up, but I don't know what happened there. As soon as I turned in, it just stepped out. So copped a bit of a whack, but you know the car's pretty damaged. I'll be amazed if they can get it fixed for tomorrow, unfortunately. But you know, we just need to regroup and qualify a bit better, so we're not back in all that carnage.
Righty, all the best.
Cheers, mate.
And the report is that Greg Murphy might have a problem with the right front shock absorber. That's what he was saying on the radio, and the guys at Pepsi Max crew are looking at that at the moment. Remember that way back he was involved in that contact with Taz Douglas and James Courtney. Gee, we're seeing some spirited stuff early. Have a go at this. This is the battle off turn 7, down to 8. It's Lowndes on the inside, Garth's on the outside. You don't want to be there. And they get through turn 8. They've got to all yield. Then it's all down the inside. There's dirt and rocks and rubbish flying everywhere. And then watch this. Bang, 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 bang. It's like a pop rivet gun down here at turn 9. Whincup into the back of Tander.
It didn't finish there. Did not finish there at all. So Will Davison will sneak on by here. Jamie goes wide. There's Will. And then behind all this, I mean, it's on. It's on between Mark Winterbottom and David Reynolds. By this stage, they're tapping each other all over the place.
And Mark Winterbottom didn't know which lane to pick. It's almost like coming up with a light saying, which way am I going to go? So he ends up alongside Jamie Whincup, so he didn't really want to be there. And as he got caught wide, Dave Reynolds fired down the inside. These guys have already had contact already, the brothers, Todd and Rick Kelly. So then finally, Rick Kelly goes by his brother. So it is This is just fantastic stuff.
Good pick-up, Neil, on Greg Murphy's in here in his garage at the moment. It has broken the top off the right front shock absorber. So look, they're looking at the wheel. There may have been contact there. I'd say probably a 4 or 5 minute change here. If nothing else has bent, the boys are into it. So expect him back out after a couple of laps.
That's amazing, isn't it? If you take it all the way back to that incident at turn 7 that we think just had massive ramifications through the chicane here.
Isn't it an amazing shot?
I can't get over the amount of crush in the tyre wall as it hits that curbing at turn 2. The load that goes through the car is just extraordinary. We're on board here at the moment with Will Davison. Will is in 3rd position at the moment. Fastest lap of the race has gone to Garth Tander, a 1:22.69 for GT. It's just 0.9 of a second between Lowndes and Tander.
Oh, here we go.
Shane Van Gisbergen, Lee Holdsworth, Tony D'Alberto. So we're looking at positions 12, 13 and 14, and a little bit further back. Michael Caruso's in there as well in car 34. Steve Owens behind him.
This is bad. There's a rule for this. At the 150-metre marker, the guy who was in the lead is the guy who has right of way. Now, when those two cars arrive at that corner alongside each other, how they got away with that, you'd never know.
And for Tony D'Alberto in the blue and white Ford, he was on the outside then in the dirty line, so he got a really tippy-toe through there to be able to even sneak through without making wall contact.
Russell Ingall's in the mix here as well, and so too is Stephen Johnson.
Now, there were a few people at the back of the pack who took the opportunity during the safety car to stop. They included Patrizzi, Fiore, Prema, and David Wall. And they're looking at Wall's car at the moment, car number 21, the Wilson security car, because it's venting some fuel at the moment on the dry brake system. So that's a little strategic play from teams who are trying to play catch-up later in the race.
And that's Winterbottom just backed by Dave Reynolds. So the little pass we saw before, Dave Reynolds now has just been passed by his teammate.
Craig Lowndes is the leader of this race at the Clipsal 500. I hope you're enjoying the season opener here on 7, the V8 Supercars at the Clipsal 500, race 1 of 2012. Shane Van Gisbergen in the pits. Craig Lowndes is the race leader. Garth Tander's behind him and has just set the fastest lap of the race.
Well, down with James Courtney, JC. First thing, you're okay, a little knocked around.
Yeah, it's I'm fine. It's just the car's not looking too good at the moment, but it was a really unusual accident. We got roughed up at the start, got hit in the rear by Caruso, then Junior in the side. So we went back a bit and we had good speed coming back through. We had good speed. The car was running well, and then as soon as I tipped into turn 8 there, something happened in the rear, and all of a sudden I had a massive snap in the rear, and I was a passenger from then on, so it was quite a large one.
Fingers crossed you'll be back there tomorrow.
Yeah, the boys have got to pull it all down and see if they can put it back together.
All right, good luck, JC. Thanks, mate. Larko.
Yeah, some interesting strategy there with Jamie Whincup coming in, but not surprising. I spoke to Adrian Burgess, the team manager on the grid, about this. I mean, they want to try and avoid this double stacking we saw so much of last year, and when you see both the cars on the track in proximity of each other, they want to try and get around it, because it's just not the double stacking, it's all the drama in the pit lane when a safety car comes out. You remember the strategy stuff I showed you at the top of the show. Not everyone can do that, but for Jamie, he now needs shorter fuel stops, shorter stops later in the race, and he's got the speed now to run in clear air and make up a lot of that ground. Not good for everyone, but good for Jamie.
Now, Garth Tander's finding himself under a bit of pressure here at the moment. This is just 30 seconds ago. Through turn 8, he actually gives the wall a fair rub down at 8, and he's rubbed the left rear on that. So we've got to look out for rear suspension damage to the Watts link and the bolt in the diff housing. So here it is again from the other side. It's a fair whack. And as a result of that, Will Davison now very, very close to the back of him and making a move down the inside at 9. And I think he's made it stick. He has. Old teammates together. That's a move for position. And Davison now sets off after after Lowndes.
He was right with him on the previous lap, so there was a dive after the incident, and then that's one lap later. And as Neil said, that had enough contact with the wall at turn 8 to definitely have some wheel alignment issues with the definitely with the left-hand rear, but it may have actually almost dragged the left-hand front in also.
It was off the back of Garth setting the fastest lap of the race. So he was right in the zone up until that point.
And Mark Winterbottom looks pretty racy too at the moment. He just did a 22.76, the fastest of the first 5 cars, and he's coming up towards the back of his teammate. And have a look at this great shot. So that's off the curb of turn 1. This is about 140 kilometres there. Then you're on the throttle, then over this great right-hand curb. We saw Mark Larkham take us through the profile of that earlier today. And that shot is just a fantastic way of explaining the dynamics of the slide from turn 1 to the big curb and the way the cars ride that curb. Very important to your overall lap time and the ease of driving these cars all day. Caruso, a lot of damage on the left-hand front. So he's broken a shock absorber also, I think, or maybe have a flat tyre. Flat tyre. Yeah. You would have noticed, yeah.
And Shane Van Gisbergen, meantime, after that stop that he just made, and that would have happened at turn 1, contact with the tyres, and then it's damaged the front left-hand corner. He's had to flick spin it at Wakefield Street up at turn 4. So Caruso will be in this time round. Van Gisbergen with fresh boots on. I don't know whether he did 2 or 4 tyres. We'll get that for you. 1:22.3, but he's down the order now, of course, out of sequence. 3 stopping. He's in 23rd spot.
Oh, that's dangerous when it's like that. You just don't know whether the car will turn at all when the tyre's flat like that. And he just got around there. Look at the damage it's doing to the left.
Well, let's check in with his team boss, Gary Rogers, who's got the headset on. This looks pretty nasty, Gary.
Well, I'm not really sure what happened, to be quite honest. I think he's flat spotted, but we weren't that far away from the pit stop anyway, so it's half a dozen laps before we would have wanted it, but set down his bum up and press on at this stage.
Give us a feedback, Gary, into the kind of feedback that Michael gives you over the radio on any particular day, but especially right now.
Well, he really just shut up. He normally chatters away and you can't stop him, but he's been pretty quiet this trip. I think he's got a fruit shop.
All right, he's heading your way, mate. We'll let you get back to it.
Thank you.
He's been pretty quiet this trip.
He did say to us the other day, honestly, he doesn't shut up. His hands are in the air, and it's Italian heritage.
Let's have a look at what might be the source of this problem. See, he clobbers the tyre wall on the inside at turn 1.
Yep.
That would have folded the guard onto the tyre. By the time he gets to the end of the next strip of road at Wakefield Street, this is what's happened. That's the left front Dunlop.
Yeah, and I've got the tyre here in front of me, and the other thing we saw happen yesterday, that conveyor belt down there is actually held together by bolts with big penny washers on them, and we've seen the penny washer actually grab the tyre and rip it. Hard to say if that's what's happened here, but I mean, that's shredded that thing. And
Confirmation also that Van Gisbergen did 2 rear tyres only in his stop on lap 17. So he came back out and fired the fastest lap of the race in 1:22.3.
Craig Lowndes is stretching the advantage away from Will Davison. The gap between first and second is over 2 seconds. Garth Tander in third. Stay with us. We'll take a break at the Clipsal 500. We're on lap 25 here in Adelaide for the Clipsal 500, and there are 25 cars out there because James Courtney, Taz Douglas and Jason Bright were the first victims of turn 8. David Reynolds made a mistake a few laps back and lost a bit of time. Has found himself in a battle that he didn't need to be in, so they brought him straight in. There's Dean Fiore.
Yes, and the problem for David Reynolds there is that he gave those spots away as a result of that mistake at the final corner. So good move, James Small, to be able to just drag him out of that before he got bottled up under the back of Lee Holdsworth, because you're just going to spend time there.
Absolutely.
And there's I'm sorry, Mark.
Oh, I was just about to say exactly the same thing. It's about to happen now in pit lane, isn't it? We're right at the window.
Yeah.
So 25 laps, and in the next 2 or 3 laps, basically the whole field will be in, other than those who took the short stop option, like a Jamie Whincup, who come in on lap 15. It's a pretty healthy battle, this one, Neil, because we just saw Fabian Coulthard in the break, a very, very big slide, and then in behind, pretty vicious with Holdsworth and Rick Kelly. And there you go, there's Coulthard in for his stop.
Yeah, so he looks to be very comfortable in that car. Winterbottom in as well for Orcon Steele.
Oh, good braking. Had all the wheels locked then.
Perfect arrival. And remember that Van Gisbergen and Whincup, they're on a 3-stop strategy. These guys are at this stage on a 2.
Mark Winterbottom lost about 2 seconds a few laps ago, which actually put him way back from behind Garth Tander. He was actually ranging up onto the back of Tander at that stage, so it'll be interesting to see when these stops all roll out now where he is in proximity to Tander. And
Winterbottom's come out just in front, interestingly, just in front of Van Gisbergen. And there's Shane just in the background at turn 4.
On board now with Greg Murphy. So he's had some dramas at the start. The right-hand front shock absorber, as we saw, and he was also involved. This is this fast turn 8. It's so fast. It's just such a difficult corner.
Race leaders in. Craig Lowndes has just come into the pit lane in Team Vodafone Car 888.
Garth Tander's followed him, so that means Will Davison is now the leader of the race, and Tim Slade's coming in as well.
Slight overrun there from Garth. It's about a wheel diameter past the marks. Lowndes already in gear, getting ready. Tim Slade perfectly on those marks, you can see there. Well done, very, very good getaway from Lowndes. Very nice stop.
There goes his teammate. It was drop and go, wasn't it? And this is on the way in. So you reckon it was a late call, maybe? Or just a... Ooh.
I think it was just Craig at full tilt.
Just a Lowndes entry.
That's pretty much how he is. He's always like that. So he's come out behind his teammate, Jamie Whincup. And he's just lost a lot of space there, hasn't he, Tim Slade?
Yeah, Slade's had a drama there.
Yeah, right rear was tardy, I think. So he's the lucky 7 driver. Tim Slade has lost a lot of ground. Here's Tander. He's in a battle here with Van Gisbergen. Carl Reindler's in there as well.
And that's pretty interesting because we said what was going to happen with Winterbottom and Tander. Well, Winterbottom's actually jumped him. So that's pretty close in the Van Gisbergen Falcon right in behind Winterbottom. We said that before. And Whincup's got by Lowndes because he had to stop for a shorter period of time for less fuel.
Someone had a lock up in the background there. Watch Tander down the inside of Van Gisbergen, and he made that one stick very nicely. Campbell Little's been on the radio to Mark Winterbottom, and I'm hearing more messages on the radio that drivers are being warned about an exposed bolt in that tyre bundle down on the inside of turn 1, the one that we've seen a little bit of damage.
And the one that Larko was alerting us to as Murphy comes through, Techno Autosports, Michael Patrizzi comes through.
So Webb, Rick Kelly, Ingalls, Steve Owen, James Moffat, 4 of those guys have all come in. Fastest lap of the race is Will Davison,
who's had a critical point in this race. We know he's had a lot of back problems. I had a chat to him beforehand, and he has a real issue where his right leg goes numb if his back starts to play up. And he said to me, look, if I can get, you know, deep into the 20s lap terms, I'm saying, if he can get to like lap 25 and it's okay, then he knows he's going to be all right, or hopes that he's going to be all right for the rest of the race. He's now leading the race. He's at that moment where he would start to feel confident if he isn't having any problems. If he's starting to get twings and twangs in there, boy, he's in for a long afternoon.
Well, I used to get the same thing, Matt, and I've actually spoken to Will about it 3 or 4 times, and we've spoken about the seat because he used the same seat that we had at HRT, and he's actually been developing different pads for under his leg. But what actually happens is sort of in the sciatic region of his right leg, it starts to make his foot go numb. So underneath the base of his foot, he can't feel the brake pedal or the throttle pedal. And you can't, I mean, obviously you can't drive the car when it's like that.
Which is a slight issue.
Yeah, exactly.
Lee Holdsworth. Also adjusting here in a different sense to a different car. Trying to find the confidence, he said to me. I just can't drive it the way that I used to drive a Holden.
And a lot of that might not be actually differences between Ford and Holden. It's probably more differences between the way the Stones engineer their cars versus Gary Rogers Motorsport. So the reality of that is that Lee's not quite at the level that Van Gisbergen and Slade are yet with those cars. And it'll be interesting to see through the year how long it takes him to adapt to those vehicles.
And doesn't have the level of confidence to attack.
That's right.
The other part of that equation is that it's not just the motor car. There are all the processes that are attached. Even the thing that we just saw there, a pit stop, where all the buttons are on the wheel, how the guys make the call, what you actually do, and the way in which they observe the protocols of processing the car. Sounds strange, but you end up in a rhythm with the team that you work with all the time, and when that changes, it's quite off-putting initially. It seems quite weird.
A couple of little things. I got to have a look at Caruso's front tyre there, and there's definitely evidence where something has grabbed it and ripped it. So I don't think we've seen the last of tyre issues at turn 1 there. And the other thing, Neil, just on that Craig Lowndes pit stop, like his guys were there ready for him. That was Craig Lowndes. And for every young aspiring race driver out there, that is why Craig is so good. It is very, very difficult to make up a tenth of a second on a track. You pick up a second doing what he just did there. Well done.
No shortage of commitment from Lowndes. There never has been. That's a great exchange going on there between these guys. It's a massive battle between Tander and Winterbottom exchanging positions at the moment. They're 6th and 7th in this race.
And I can tell you that Will Davison has rejoined the race in 2nd spot behind Jamie Whincup. Welcome back. Let's run you through the highlights so far of the first race of the season. Craig Lowndes started this one on pole, but Garth Tander took advantage straight up and led them through the chicane for the first time. There's a bit of pushing and shoving involving Taz Douglas, Greg Murphy and James Courtney. And then a couple of laps later, Courtney goes heavily into the wall at turn 8. Taz Douglas also, and spears off to the other side. Jason Bright arrived on the scene to find oil and just goes deep and hard into the concrete barriers, and in fact pushed one of them right out of the way. Just extraordinary impact. All three drivers okay. Can't say the same about all three cars. However, it's going to be a long night ahead for car 22, car 8, and Lucas Dumbrell Motorsport for Taz Douglas, car 30. Gee, there were some great battles early on. I mean, you'd think that turn 8 again. I was going to say, you think that they've just completely forgotten about the off-season, and they have. It didn't take long for them to get back in and start rubbing panels. We're on board with Techno Autosports' Jonathan Webb. This is a brand new car. It's a clean skin car at the moment, and carrying no sponsorship for the opening race. And he's expanded to a two-car team this year, switched across to Holden, so big changes for Jonathan Webb. Michael Patrizzi coming in, and Jono's inside the top 10 right now, 7th. Jamie Whincup is our race leader. He's got almost a 3-second advantage on Will Davison. There's Jamie. So he's running a different strategy. It'll be a 3-stop strategy for the defending series champ, who comes back with the number 1 on his door. It gutted him to have to take it off and hand it over to James Courtney last time around. It's now securely on the side of Team Vodafone at the start of this season. Well, let's check in at Gary Rogers Motorsport with the team boss.
Hi, boys.
How are you, mate? Now,
good.
Listen, Alex Premier has been out there. You weren't expecting big things of him. He's also cycled through, Gary, his pit stop. And as we take a look at the stop, what I want to know is, how's he communicating with the team? He's got a very strong French accent. Yeah, must have lost Gary. This is Alex's.
We've all got the French dialogue book in front of us here, so we're going okay. No, look, that was a scheduled stop. We stopped him under the safety car at lap 6 or 7. You know, who knows as it pans out, but we're not even halfway there yet. Clearly, we would like him to move forward a bit, but we also don't want him spearing the thing in the wall, and then we all burst into tears.
But very easy to burst into tears in this industry, Gaz. I'm with you.
Plenty of times, believe me.
So well done. All the very best, mate.
Okay, thanks very much, boys.
We'll stay in contact as the day goes on. So, one of the world's most credentialed touring car drivers driving in our series. It's great to have him in the Fujitsu car, and we'll follow the progress via Gary Rogers through the afternoon.
And Scafey, you know, we all know he's going to be in for a tough year. This is a tough gig, but that guy will be around, and he's already, the little signs you see on pit lane here that the guy is a professional. The way he stopped bang on the mark in his pit stop, and the way he got off the mark and got away was absolutely first class.
Yeah, Larko, Jason Bright, when he spoke to us earlier on, mentioned the fact that he'd had a pain in his shoulder. The doctors had a look at it now. They've actually put him in the back of the ambulance. They will take him to hospital, and he'll have precautionary x-rays on that shoulder. May have been an injury, guys, from the harness inside the car when he whacked the wall so hard.
This little battle that we're looking at here at the moment is David Reynolds, Lee Holdsworth, 9th and 10th. Remember, that was going on a short while ago as well. Just on the subject of Prema, don't underestimate his credentials to get to where he is in motor racing. He's still only 29. He was a karting champion, Formula Renault champion. He won the Macau Grand Prix in Formula 3, which is one of the biggest things you can do in international motorsport, and the F3 Masters. He drove for Nicola Todd in GP2 twice, and he was Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton's teammate. He was part of the winning team, the French winning team for A1 Grand Prix. He had a little taste of Formula 1 with Spiker Toyota. Then he did German touring car, and then he did sports car with Audi. So he's got an enormous amount of experience. Under 30, finds himself in our country this year. So it'll take some time, as you explained before, but I'm sure he'll be there in the end.
We're riding here with David Reynolds in position 9, taking over the seat vacated by Paul Dumbrell. So a tumultuous back end of 2011 and off-season, and now he's settled in the Ford Performance Racing stable.
fastest second sector split here for Whincup, who's on that different 3-stop strategy at the moment. He'll get to about lap 42 or thereabouts if he goes all the way to the end of this fuel load. So he's got a fast car at the moment, and they're playing the game differently.
Good battle, which has been basically going on since Dave Reynolds made a mistake pretty early in the race, and Holdsworth and Dave have been battling since then. They're currently 9th and 10th in the field. And just to clarify a little bit of the strategy, as Holdsworth dives down the inside of Reynolds whilst we're on board, they make a little bit of contact and get round there, back onto start-finish straight right now. But before the stop, Craig Lowndes was in front of Will Davison. After the stop, Will Davison is in front of Craig. He lost 1.5 seconds. We saw his stop was very good, but he lost 1.5 seconds with traffic on the opening lap when he come back out of the pits, Craig Lowndes. So that's the reason that Davison's in front. And when Will was in the lane, he had a clear run. That's right. No dramas.
Fastest lap of the race so far, Jamie Whincup, a 1:22.1. Replay of all the action down here. Super slow-mo at turn 2. Jack Daniels' car getting air down there. Now, I said that Jamie, on the full load of fuel from lap 15 when he takes it, could potentially get to 42. Don't forget, that's not very far from lap 48. Now, that's a different number to the one that Mark Larkin was talking about, but on the revised fuel numbers that we're seeing for consumption this afternoon, we reckon that the get-home position for some cars in the field is lap 48. So if there's any form of safety car intervention or a sprinkle of rain, not impossible that Whincup couldn't get into a position from here to only have to stop one more time. If that's the case, watch out for that one, because that's a big story.
Well, that'll win the race. Basically on track position now, if he's only got to make one more stop, he will win the race from there. But a lot to play out. Will Davison behind with Craig Lowndes. Mark Winterbottom in a strong position in 4th. Garth Tander, we saw, make contact with the fence at turn 8. He's in 5th. Shane Van Gisbergen 6th. Jonathan Webb doing a very good job all weekend. Fabian Coulthard is 8th. Lee Holdsworth and Dave Reynolds, we've seen, they're in 9th and 10th. Then the Kelly brothers, 11th and 12th. So pretty lively front end of the field still. And the battle between Whincup to Lowndes is only 3 seconds in terms of that gap. Then a big gap to Winterbottom, another 9 seconds behind in 4th position. So a lot to unfold, and certainly the 2 critical numbers that we've been talking about, as Neil correctly pointed out, the consumption is slightly better than we thought, meaning instead of 52 being the critical lap number, we think it's either 48 or 49 now based on the lap speed and the consumption to date.
This battle here between Steve Owen, Tim Slade and Russell Ingall, positions 14, 15 and 16. So we know that Steve Owen has now fused into Dick Johnson Racing, so he's now behind the wheel of a Ford. Tim Slade's got a brand new car to start the season. Russell's world has completely turned around for his 17th year full-time driving. Now finds himself in the Walkinshaw stable.
Matty, it's strategy central here at Ford Performance Racing with Tim Edwards. Tim, how's this likely to play out? You've got Will sitting in 2nd spot, Frosty sitting in 4th.
Well, I mean, technically Will's in the lead of the race at the moment because Jamie's got to make 2 more stops. We've only got the 1 more stop. So, you know, at the moment we're really racing Craig. So that's our focus at the moment.
Touch wood, everything in good position?
Everything's all right at the moment, but there's still 40 laps to go. So that's a lot of laps around here.
All right, mate, we'll let you keep your eye on the game.
Thanks, mate.
And that's why Tim is saying the caveat is, you know, at this stage, because he knows the way these things can unfold with safety cars and with weather and what have you. But what he said is right. Now, this is Whincup nipping up that inside front. That's right. You can't afford that. Put a mark on there, and that will change their schedule, although he's on light fuel now. He's wide at turn 14 as well. He's on very light fuel now, late in this stint for him. He's not far away from the stop, so he doesn't have to spend long on these tyres. Mind you, you don't need to do that too often or it gets ugly. It's all going on here at the Clipsal 500.
Make sure you're happy with bars and buyers. Doing a great job, mate.
We're back and we have passed the halfway mark here in the first race of the season. And this is what was happening in the ad break. Jamie Whincup into pit lane. So this makes it a 3-stop for certain.
And they actually only ran him for 25 laps in that stint, so I don't think they got to the absolute end of that fuel.
Whoa, just got
out of jail there. It did sneeze on him as it landed, and he caught it and got away again. This is Greg Murphy, the rear shot at turn 2. Looking at its underbelly off the deck down there across the curbing. Amazing shot. Just see how much the cars slide down there.
But no wonder it broke the right-hand front shock before. He is that much good.
Lee Holdsworth here up to 6th spot for the Irwin Tools Ford and getting the job done on Fabian Coulthard in the Lockwood entry as we ride with Jonathan Webb, who's in 5th. So Will Davison's our race leader by 3 seconds over Craig Lowndes. Fastest lap of the race just posted by Jamie Whincup, 1:21.9. He came back out in 11th spot. So it's Davison, Lowndes, Winterbottom, Tander, then the man you're riding with, Jonathan Webb.
That's only a whisker away from the lap record. Courtney holds 1:21.9502. This is a 9:731. So he's just a whisker away from setting a new lap record here, Whincup, with a full fuel load but fresh tyres. James did that 2010, a couple of years ago, and he's driving for Jim Beam Racing. This is Tony D'Alberto. Been a very strong campaign for him so far this weekend. He's just done a stop. Someone was yelping in the background there. Yeah, lock brake into the final corner. Oh, it's Lowndes.
He's way off in the grass and he's had to rejoin really wide. So Lowndes will drop a bunch of time there. Yeah, so he didn't drop a position, but he's dropped a bunch of time. Winterbottom's the next in order. Greg Murphy in front of him's out of sequence, so Lowndes has lost a big whack of time there. He's now 9.5 seconds behind Will Davison.
6 seconds. He lost 6 seconds versus Davison on that lap. So this is what we heard. We heard the wheel lock. We didn't know what car it was. And there's Lowndes disappearing at the final corner. Lucky he didn't go in the fence, actually, because it's not that far down the road. That's him rejoining in front of Greg Murphy.
And he released the brake in order to try and protect the tyre, which is what carted him so far out through the weeds, turn 14. So here he is, turn 8.
Oh, he just hit the curb. Did you see that? He hit the curb on the inside at turn 8, and the front of the car fanned up. He just gets it stopped. He's actually having a couple of ugly moments here at the moment because, he locked the rear wheels and then he couldn't get stopped for the final corner at the end of that long run into turn 9. It's Jeremy Moore up in the top left-hand side of your screen.
Yeah. And he's still got 10 odd laps to go on these tyres and on this fuel load. So he's got a little way to go just yet. He needs to just get back in his rhythm, as JJ said a moment ago. Here he is again. So he picks up that curb that you noted and get that a little bit further wrong, and you actually end up in that wall on the outside.
So that little curb, you can see that we actually lengthened that curb many years ago to give the drivers a guide with the right-hand front tyre against the curb. But when Craig hit that then, it effectively pushed the car left. And it doesn't take very much, as Neil said, to hit the guardrail, which is only about 100 millimetres inside where that curb is, to make contact with the guardrail and fire you left-hand side fence bound.
How's this for pace, Scafie? On the last lap, I remember I made mention of Whincup's pace. He's just done a 1:21.9862. On the previous lap, it was 9:731. Yeah. So he virtually replicated. Look at this, Van Gisbergen versus, is it Jonathan Webb? I didn't catch the number. It's Patrizzi, Michael Patrizzi. So that's amazing pace on heavy fuel in relative terms for Jamie Whincup.
Michael's got the blinker going, and so too is Shane.
It's a code. The boys are just doing a little bit of Morse coding with the blinkers. Very strange. Anyway, Will Davison leads from Craig Lowndes, Mark Winterbottom, Garth Tander, Jonathan Webb, Lee Holdsworth. Very good job.
Oh, into the fence at turn 8. David Reynolds. Massive contact and keeps going.
Now, some are going to take a punt here and some will come in for fuel. Who's going to be game? Because it's real close to an awkward moment. Lap 48's the critical. Here comes the safety car.
Safety car, stand by. We have a car down at turn 9, left-hand side. Should be off track. Just stand by.
Head down for David Reynolds. He was instantly straight on the microphone saying to the team and James Small, My fault. I stuffed it up. Yep.
Yeah. He didn't exactly say mess it up, but
my goodness,
where
that
it's
was
parked
big.
now is all the way down that straight where we saw all the incident with the Courtney car earlier.
Now, Whincup could be stationary for less time because he's got a higher fuel load, but he might get caught in the queuing if they actually chose to bring him in. We'll have to wait and see how they play it. This is on board with David.
And you can see it's knocked him around, Neil. I've said before, it's a real bell ringer. You can see his body language there. He's drooped down. It's taken the wind out of him because it winds you when the belts grab you. And the force there is immense.
Well, he'd wanted to come here and make a bit of a statement in his first drive at Ford Performance Racing. He ended up in a real dogfight of a race.
So had to bring Tim Slade back there.
Oh!
Well, he just got around.
Jesus. Shane Van Gisbergen.
This is where it gets really tricky when everyone's trying to juggle this stuff. So Lowndes is in. So Will Davis and Lowndes, Winterbottom, Tander, Webb. Top 5 are all taking the opportunity to grab fuel.
Well, you can't not.
No, that's right.
You've got to work out who you're racing. And they're racing each other, Davison and Lowndes. And Tander and Winterbottom have also got to make the same call. Everyone will struggle to make it home from here. There is no doubt this is very, very early for everybody. HRT have previously had the best fuel economy of the field, and it will be very interesting to see what happens here in terms of speed versus that fuel economy.
It forces them into a position now where they've got to go into a massive economy run to try and get through to the end without another stop.
Wow, a simple thing like that. An incident, here it is. That's Dave Reynolds, bang! He couldn't see the apex. That was the problem. He was right behind Fabian Coulthard, and he's hit the inside curb we were talking about just before that. Hit the guardrail, and bang, watch this. Straight out into the fence. That's almost the same position exactly as James Courtney. Have a look again. See, he couldn't see. He was so close to the car in front. It just blinds you. You've got no visibility of where the apex of the corner is. He hit the inside and has fired wide. So just have another look. He can't see where that apex is. Actually, he's missed it.
Yeah,
he didn't actually grab the curve. He's missed the apex because he couldn't see where the corner was. So sorry about that. He was slightly wide, about half a car width wider than the real line. And in the end, that's the result.
Yeah, Scafey, interesting. Dave Reynolds had reported to the crew that he really felt the temperature climbing inside the cabin, so the heat was getting extreme, and they reckon maybe that just took the edge off him there on that corner.
That could be the case, Brett. That's absolutely a plausible thing.
We just wonder how long it's going to take for the clean-up operation down there, and therefore see how long the safety car's out there. We'll take a break.
Get ready to go, mate. One car behind you, but courage in your run. guys need to stop again, right? So if there's a safety car from here to the end, 7 seconds of the leader from here. Just make a good pace, use position on, don't worry about that. We still third thing we're trying to get a lap back, so work for us. With a bit of luck and safety car. Safety car lights out. Lights out, safety car lights out. I'll do my best to show you whether it's
Perfect timing, lights out on the safety car, restart, ready to go. And this time, they're all making sure they're pointing towards the lead car, which is Will Davison. Then it's Rick Kelly and Jamie Whincup, and Whincup's waiting to pounce straight away. Craig Lowndes is behind him, up to turn 1. They all go spearing through. Now, Rick Kelly is effectively out of sequence. He needs to stop again. On the inside, Garth Tander.
Jonathan Webb was getting his ears boxed back there at turn 5. Now, the interesting question, really, the overarching question on this whole thing is who can get home. That's really, and we've got no idea. We think that Will Davison has got pretty good fuel economy, so he's a reasonable chance, but it'll depend on the pace of the race from here.
Did you see
Mark Winterbottom
and how unsettled Will Davison was going in there?
Yeah, the tyres cool out and they lose a bit of pressure. D'Alberto gets shoved up on the top of the curb at 9. So it takes a little while. Here's David Reynolds' car back on the flatbed truck into the back of the pit paddock area.
Davey was asked about turn 8 before this event. He said, it's the one corner I don't want to think about until I'm there. Unfortunately, he's got a lot to think about after that one.
Well, you think about it, Matt, you've got to do it 78 times. And when you go through the course of the whole of this race, there'll be 3 or 4 times in the race minimum where you think, whoa, gee, I'm lucky to get away with that one. And obviously today we've seen 4 or 5 guys not get away with it with pretty severe consequences.
Yeah, so David Reynolds, Greg Murphy, David Reynolds, James Courtney, Taz Douglas and Jason Bright, victims down there at turn 8. And just an update, Brighty's gone to hospital just for precautionary scans on his shoulder after that big whack into the wall.
Oh, Lowndes wide.
And that allows Winterbottom up the inside at 7. Lowndes is wide again. There's something weird happened. He's dropping a heap of spots here, Lowndes. Off the back of turn 7, he's dropped 4 cars now.
It'll be another one. Look at this. Oh, he's just trying to wiggle it just to make sure nothing's broken.
He might have some pickup on a tyre. Something weird's going on with Lowndes' car.
Somebody in the rear.
Yeah. Something funny in the rear, Lowndes just said. Very weird. Yeah, Watts link.
That takes mate straight in.
So that's the locating device for the rear diff housing, which basically locates the wheels in the car laterally in the body. And you can see Lowndes there absolutely out of control. It's got a flat tyre. Left-hand rear tyre's flat.
How did he get it?
How was that?
How did he manage to drive it into the pit lane there?
Car control there is just unbelievable. Sideways over the curb and into pit lane. That is the sort of skill. It's a left-hand rear tyre flat. Wow.
4 tyres, full of fuel, fill the fuel. Just gonna have a look at this left rear. Just left rear, boys. Just left rear. Just left rear, please. Let's have a good look at it. Let's have a good look, please. Just the left rear. go. We're good to go.
So not the Watts link, but a flat. And in many ways, that's almost how Lowndesy comes into pit lane anyway.
That was,
Well,
he
so
was
it's
so
gone
close
there.
to having the thing around the other way there that it was unbelievable. Here it is again in replay. So off turn 7 here, he drops 1, 2, 3, 4 cars. And then when he came back into the pit lane entry down at turn 14, watch this. This is just astonishing car control with a left rear tyre flat. And the thing's still doing more than 100 kilometres an hour here. And he just drives it in like a sprint car on the brake, manages to guide it into the hole, gets the pit lane speed limiter on, grabs first gear and wonders what all the fuss is about.
That is just fantastic. That is as good as it gets. It's just a great bit of car control. Have a look at him. He's an absolute maniac, is he? That is very funny.
It's a tonne and a half of Holden Commodore going sideways at 140 kilometres an hour with 3 tyres on it.
We always say he's loose. He just proved it again.
So the trick is they've got to do, if it stays green, 31 laps on a load of fuel from that last safety car intervention. And even on our best numbers, we've revised our fuel consumption to a better figure, the Sucrogen ethanol E85 that we use. They're not using as much of it this afternoon as we initially thought, but it's going to be a real stretch from here.
So the good mates and former housemates, Will and Jamie, pair off at the front. Jamie's going to have a look here at turn 9. And we'll get it. Up to position 1.
And they'd be telling him in the garage. Yeah, exactly. That was the right thing to do, Will. So they'll be coaching him at the moment not to get involved in the race with Wingcup based on the fuel economy differences here. The real race now for Will Davison, given the mistake or the drama with Lowndes' car, is Tander behind versus Will Davison. And what will the fuel economy be based on them stopping on the same lap? They stopped on lap 46. We know this is going to be a real stretch. Neil Crompton's already explained it. So at the moment, the first 3 cars really are Will Davison, Tander and Winterbottom.
Well, a big sense of relief down here at Team Vodafone. Adrian Burgess, that was good news, just a tyre for Craig Lowndes. It could have been worse.
It could have been a lot worse, but it's not really good news.
Yeah, exactly. Mate, from here on in for Craig, his car control, as we were saying, coming to pit lane was just exceptional. His ability with the car, he can get this job still done.
Oh, I mean, it's going to be tough now. We've got to go and get as many points as we can. We were looking fairly good, but we'll fight another day. We've got tomorrow. The car's got speed. We'll be back.
All right, mate. Thanks very much. Good luck. Larko.
Hey, Brett, I've actually got, this is the tyre off the back of Craig's car. That's still, I can tell you, 90 degrees. Look, I've got a spigot here just to show you. Look at that hole there. I can push it through it. Look at that. So very unlucky. Don't know what it is or what's been in there. A bit of a worry though. You don't usually see that sort of thing on there.
That's not hot, Larko. Touch that. That's not hot.
Michael Petrizzi, Michael Caruso, Dean Fiore.
So Wingcup last stopped on lap 40. Full load of fuel, if he runs right to Bone Drive, might get him out to about lap 66, 67.
Make a good pizza joint, that, wouldn't it? Petrizzi, Fiore, Caruso.
Sound like dodgy lawyers.
So this is where Jamie got the job done on Will down at turn 9. And Will was right up for that one. He stepped well and truly clear of any damage. Can't be said for Steve Owen as he gets turned around at turn 7.
Up until that point, he'd been the leading car of the 4 cars in that Dick Johnson Racing group. It's been a pretty good run for him so far. There's Greg Murphy with air. Jamie Wingcup is the temporary leader of the Clipsal 500. He's got a 2-second margin.
high above the streets of Adelaide as we look down on these V8 supercars tackling this fantastic circuit. At the front of the field, Jamie Whincup is a man on a mission. He's just set the fastest time of the race, a new lap record, 121.836. He's got a 4-second advantage over Will Davison, but as we've spoken, Jamie can't get all the way to the end, so he needs to get as much time in the back, as much space away from second place as he can before he has to come back into pit lane as this strategy game starts to unfold the further this race goes.
So he's 6 laps away from the rest. He stopped on lap 40. The rest of the contenders, Will Davison, Tander, Winterbottom, and Todd Kelly. Todd Kelly's done a great job, come from 11th to 5th. They all stopped on lap 46, so we know they're in trouble. We're on board now with Mark Winterbottom, and we're going to stay with him for the lap. They're right in behind Garth Tander. They've got a very, very good battle going.
And let's not forget, as we stay with Frosty for this lap, he's in 4th spot. Effectively, it's 3rd. 2 months ago, Scaife, he broke his ankle in a water skiing accident. Had screws inserted in there. How hard is this going to be? He's done it already 57 laps.
Have a listen to this.
Through turn 13. Pit lane entry on your right-hand side. Around 14. Meanwhile, Whincup's done it again, up in front. Another lap record, 121.82. He's now got a 5.6 second advantage for Jamie Whincup over Will Davison. It was a great lap to follow for Mark Winterbottom.
And Matty, there's an absolute reason he's doing this. This is all coming into play now. You remember, this is my board. I haven't touched it since the start of the race. Now, let's just change a couple of things here. Let's call the green guy Jamie Whincup. So I think he was in around 41, if I recall. Okay, now I know now that he's going to come in around about 66. Now, here's his little fuel fill at that point of time. I know that's going to be somewhere around 6 or 7 seconds of fuel. Now, he's got a lead of about 4 or 5 seconds now. Clearly, he's trying to increase it. He needs to get to that because the rest of the field, we thought about 52, where in fact they mostly came in around 48. We know that they're not going to quite get to 78. So as we predicted, the race is going to be right there. Fascinating stuff.
And the other problem for Jamie, Larko, as you know, is he's got to get in and out. So it's also getting in, processing the whole thing and rejoining the original timeline. So he's trying to do everything he can in his power at the moment to make up that gap, but it is going to be a great contest.
This is Lowndes sideways. Look at the body language. And then bang, off that curb on the right. And as you can see, the level of force that the suspension and the tyre takes up, that all those forces are translated into the body of the car. And that's a fantastic shot from the back at turn 1 and turn 2. Now, what may unfold in this whole thing is it'll be a totally changeable circumstance if the guys at lap 46, when they come out, if they actually have to come in for a splash and dash. So if they can't make it and they've got to put fuel in, the Whincup scenario is still not over.
No.
Just get that feeling. This one's going all the way down to the wire. Whincup's out there doing his best to get as much time as he can. Will Davison's in the box seat to get his first Clipsal race win.
Looks all right here, Johnny, looks all right.
Welcome back, 16 laps to go in the season opener, and Jamie Whincup is going berserk. He's attacking the timesheets with incredible vigour. He's ripping apart his own lap record times. It's now 121.75, but Jonathan Webb has been forced into pit lane. The marks on the side of the car tell the story. He's tagged the wall somewhere along, and they weren't ready for him when he came in. They weren't in a hurry either because they think the problem might be terminal.
Hey, Matty, we had a little bit of a look at that wide board there before. Now, we know HRT have great fuel economy, so I went up there to have a bit of a chat with them and see if they'd give us a guide as to how they're going to go on fuel. Well, I can tell you, I didn't have to ask the question. I just stood nearby and listened. They're deep in conflab about these cars going the distance, or the car, and I don't think it will.
Yeah, I don't think anyone can make it either. Larko, that's, I mean, it's 3 or 4 laps away from what we think is best.
Yeah.
And it's a real struggle, but everybody, not a radio in the top 5 guys, hasn't got fuel focus as top of mind. So they've turned their switch on the steering to trim it to the leanest setting. They're looking at the dash to basically say fuel used each lap, and they're reporting each lap as to what lap time they can do using X amount of fuel. And Will Davison, Tander and Winterbottom are really heavily into that right now.
Still working on that car of Jonathan Webb's down there. It's got a lot of scuffs down the left-hand side where he graunched the wall a couple of minutes back. So that's the end of what's been a good campaign so far this weekend for him. Dean Fiore is the car that we're looking at there, and this is Michael Caruso.
Yeah, so let's talk to Robbo's boss, Gary Rogers. Gary, what do you make of the fuel situation?
Well, it's a bit of borderline for all of us, I think. There's still a way to go. But, I suppose safety cars can come into play here, but I don't think there's a lot of cars in that top end that will make it without a stop.
Yeah, Gary, you come in on lap 47. What's your confidence level? Where do you think you'll get to?
Oh, we're totally confident. It's very easy, Elvis.
Come on, you can't dud the dudders. Tell me what you think. Are you five laps out, or what do you think?
We've told the fruit man just to take it easy on the throttle. He's going along fine and dandy, and, you know, we'll just watch it play out.
Come on, let the guard down.
No, we will not have to stop. I promise you that.
All right, well done.
And Garth Tander, position 2. So on our numbers, you know, they might get him out to lap 74. Here's the move in replay. This is on Will Davison. Down the inside, classic move, fast off 8. Diagonal line to the apex at 9.
I don't understand where that just come from, because he was 2.5 seconds in front. So Will Davison's lost a lot of ground in the last few laps, and you can't lose that much in trying to conserve fuel.
So Whincup, we're expecting in somewhere in the next 2 or 3 laps now as well. So watch out for car 1. He's got an 11.1 second lead. There's 23 seconds involved in transiting the pit lane, and then whatever it takes to do whatever you want to do in there, whether you're doing 2 or 4 wheels and how much fuel you're putting in.
But it does look like they've decided to just press on, meaning that everybody's got to stop, because there's no use doing this. You don't go and attack it now and waste the fuel economy race if you think you're the only one that is not going to stop. So they've basically got to say, they've all got to come in. So, yes, so Alistair McVeigh, Garth Tander's engineer, is saying, push, push, push. This is a change of policy.
It's a classic standoff, Scapey. It's the same in every garage, just at Ford Performance Racing. Tim Edwards, are you going to have to stop for fuel, for Will and for Frosty?
At the moment, we can make it. It's extremely tight.
How tight?
It's tighter than tight. But at the moment, we think we're all right. The guys have got a target number that they're working to, and they're driving to the figure. And at the moment, they're both hitting it.
All right, good luck, Tim.
Thanks, mate.
Larko?
Yeah, well, that's interesting to hear that, isn't it, if they're possibly making, because a lot of them aren't. And it begs the question, do you come in now, get some tyres on, give it the splash so you can actually go hard, get the benefit of the tyres for this last little run home, rather than come in for that splash, disastrous right at the end?
Whincup's driving the wheels off this thing at the moment. And you can see that Team Vodafone were laying up in the pit lane in preparation for him. He's driving every lap like a qualifying lap. Here he is inbound. 11.49 seconds, 11.5 second margin over the field. Now he's got to dawdle along at 40 kilometres an hour.
Got you for 4 tyres, 4 cold green tyres. Got a nice run in here into the box, mate. Going to be a pretty quick stop here, champ.
And the reason they say it's quick is they don't have to fill it. They've only got to put enough fuel in to get it home.
And green tyres. See those tyres? They're brand new.
Sorry about the windscreen.
Haven't got time to do the windscreen. 4 tyres on and gone. And that's one of the best, that is one of the best 10-lap runs I've ever seen him drive. They were qualifying laps, lap after lap after lap. So this is make or break stuff now. They've got enough fuel to make it home. They've got green tyres, and he's in the mood to go and break this lap record again.
And he drops into 7th. He's between Stephen Johnson. You can see Russell Ingall in the background. So he's dropped into 7th. And he's currently 17.2 seconds off the lead of the race.
That last 20 minutes that Jamie Whincup has just put together is as close to perfection as you're going to get. From the moment that he started attacking the times to the moment that he came into pit lane, dropped it on a dime, let the team do the rest, shot out fine on cold green tyres. It's as good as it gets.
Absolutely. So he can get home. The question is, what about the other 6 in front of him?
guys.
Where are they in all this? Can they squeak their things home? Can they make them do 31 laps of green racing on a full load? Or are they going to have to go full economy mode, or do they have to stop?
Well, Tim Edwards has already decided full economy mode for Davison and Winterbottom, haven't they? Tander, in the meantime, has started to press on. He's moved forward. He's going away. He's 0.6 of a second faster on this lap than Davison so far. So he's done a 22.5 and Davison has done a 23.18. So there's going to have to be a splash, I would say, for sure for Tander. He can't make it without it. This is going to be riveting to see where Whincup then folds through as this last 10 or so laps unfold.
The only thing that makes me very nervous is, if you recall the first event last year, we spent a lot of time explaining strategy, and in the end Courtney got home at Abu Dhabi and we went, how did that happen? So at the moment I'm just holding my bets, but if it's just a green flag run to the end, Whincup's got to try and find more than a second a lap to get in touch with this man. Of course, that's not going to be possible in such a short time. Whincup's done the fastest split to the first timing intermediate, 28.2. That's the sort of stuff we saw from him in qualifying and the shootout, a low 28.
Tander almost off the road down there at 9. Missed the apex by a car width.
He is pushing it. You're right. He's all over this one, Garth Tander. Pushing it to the extreme. The Coates Hire chopper shot was awesome. Coming through turn 8. See how deep he went into turn 9. Now he's attacking turn 13. Up on the curb, round the final turn, and shoots off at the control line here. There will be 10 laps to go. He's worried about his fuel. He's trying to push on time-wise, and he knows that Whincup will be coming.
Here's the gap. We want to show these gaps to you. There's Davis and there's Winterbottom. Here's the margin further back to Lee Holdsworth, and then it's Fabian Coulthard in 5th in the Lockwood entry. There he is. It's been a great opening run for him. There's Whincup, the next in the queue. New lap record, 1:21.0. What a blistering time. That's not just a lap record. That's just absolutely decimating the lap speed around here. Ingles next. He's inside the top 10. Followed by Patrizzi, then Fiore, then Reindler. There he is. Prema, Todd Kelly, Jack Daniels Racing, then Craig Lowndes. Not a bad recovery, getting valuable points for Lowndes. Rick Kelly, Stephen Johnson for Jim Beam, James Moffat for the Norton guys, Shane Van Gisbergen, quiet day for him. Tony D'Alberto is next, then followed by Tim Slade, and a margin then back to Steve Owen, who got rotated in that little battle up at turn 7 a bit early on. Then Fresh Air. After him, it's David Wall is actually out of sequence here. So that gives you a bit of an indication as to where everybody is. So back to the question of Tander. He stopped on lap 46. It's a 78-lap race. He's got to get 32 laps away to get to the end.
And Whincup with a 21.05. We've seen this performance before his last stop. He's on green tyres now. He's got enough fuel to make it home. And a 21.05. We're on board with him right now. You watch how hard he is driving this car. Your pace is awesome. 9/10 of a second faster than the previous lap record.
And for Tander to do it on the numbers that we were talking about, he's got to burn about 2.34 litres per lap. Remember at the start of the show when Mark Larkin was talking, our averages we thought were about 2.7 litres a lap. Whincup on the march.
There's another spot for him. He's gone past Fabian Coulthard, so Whincup up to 5th. Nobody's won more races at this circuit than this man. Nobody's won more overall events than this man. And now he's got the fastest lap time by a long shot.
Alex Prema's coming in out of the top 10 for fuel on this lap. Car number 33. 2.8 seconds is the margin. Tander to Davison.
Just have a look at the rate in which he turns the wheel. It's very, very smooth. He's got really nice car control. His technique, you just watch here, left-hander at turn 11. So smooth, isn't it?
And contrast those images that you can see on your screens at home now with those, if you're watching us yesterday in qualifying in the shootout, particularly the shootout, where he had to really fight and coax the car at the corner. He really had to push it and nudge the steering wheel to get it where he needed it to be.
Yeah, that's when we know that Jamie Whincup's in top form. It looks as though he's doing it easy in the cockpit. You did right, it was a totally different story 24 hours ago. He was fighting this thing all the way around. And the brains trust at Walkinshaw Racing trying to crunch the numbers. James Courtney out of this race early on lap 4 into the wall. There's Ryan Walkinshaw, team owner.
And Mike Henry had his back to us. Scott Sinclair, who was James Courtney's engineer, was watching there as well. They're having a quiet afternoon, obviously. So here's Tander, race leader, 3.3 seconds. He's marching away from Davison, so he's just blazing on. His lap speed's been pretty good.
He might be able to do it. I mean, stranger things. It would be unbelievable fuel economy if he can get there with this. And he does. He's certainly not backing up. You can see how much road he's using there. He's wheel spinning it and sliding it. He's driving it like there's 10 laps to go and you can win the race, Neil.
Imagine that. So 4/10 faster in the second sector for Tander over Davison. They're just saying push. They're looking for margin. So I suspect they're trying to build a margin to get him in to minimise the stationary times. Kind of the vibe I get, but we went through this 12 months ago. I'm just wondering how they could get the thing to the end on those fuel consumption numbers and doing the lap speed that he's doing. His last lap was a 22.4. It's pretty speedy at this particular point in the race. Gee, a lot of them are clobbering that curb hard at turn 5, and you can actually hear it back here in the commentary box. Very harsh through the body of the car.
Well, Winterbottom has slowed right up to the point where he's doing 24s. So you can see how far he's had to drop. And there's the chat. You reckon Tander's going to have to pit? But I think what they'll do is they'll just put a little splash and dash of fuel in and don't do anything to do with tyres, because you won't have time to do a tyre.
No. So two different strategies. If our guessing is right, that HRT just go for broke, make a margin, squirt some gas in. FPR, particularly in the case of Winterbottom, they're winding the pace back to try and dribble him home to see if they can run it on a drop or two of fuel.
Right, so it's amazing tension, the Holden Racing team, garage. They're virtually going lap by lap. Yep, we can get one more. Let's send him again, but it's got to a point.
He's in.
They've got a splash.
He's in, Barrett, so he's down pit lane there now.
Yeah, got to stop him, and it'll be a quick splash and off he'll go.
So there'll be no tyres, it'll just be that much fuel.
Waiting on fuel. Good to go.
How much was that?
Well,
Mate, we got 6 laps to go. Just push. Move it not for position.
So they did 25 laps on that load for Garth, which is conventional, especially at the rate and the speed, lap speed that he was doing. So
let's see where he pops out.
Dropping
Just
in front of Russell Ingall. And he'll go pretty hard from here, Tanner. He'll go berserk.
Yeah, I really want to try and catch up here with Mark Dutton, who's Jamie Wincup's engineer, see if he'll have a quick chat to us. Sorry to interrupt there, Dutto. Mate, good call on the strategy. You committed to your three-stopper early. You came in all on your own. Obviously, you had the confidence that Jamie could do the job, and you obviously studied the frequency of safety cars here. But gee whiz, he's driving well, mate. This is as good as I've seen him go.
Oh, mate, it's amazing. No other driver, you'd have the flexibility to do what we're doing. So, obviously, we're using the tools we have. Not calling him a tool. But, no, he's doing a fantastic job. It's not over, but fingers crossed.
No, it's a really good point you made. We said earlier, not everyone has the luxury of doing this stuff, but because you've got Jamie to work with, it does give you a little flexibility, doesn't it?
I'm pretty sure I'm the only one, so I'm a little bit spoiled like that. So, fingers crossed, mate.
Don't worry, mate. I know you're pretty smart too.
So it's a 5-second margin, Davison to Winterbottom, then it's 2.2 seconds back to Jamie Whincup. Winterbottom's just limping along at the moment at 24. Look how close the red car is. So he's 1.1 seconds behind Whincup. He's going to have him for sure. So the real question here is, can Will Davison get his thing to survive to the checkered flag, or is Whincup just going to mow him down with pace and enough fuel to do the job?
The last lap round, Will Davison did a 122.6 leading the race. Jamie Whincup did a 121.4. So he'll get past Winterbottom in a heartbeat, and probably here. Up to turn 7 on the inside, there it goes.
They're in two different realms as far as speed goes.
There's the gap. We just saw it down Brock Straight. One guy was about to go into turn 8, the other guy's coming out of turn 7. Can he make up this margin? It's 6.6 seconds.
And Will Davison has not yet won for Ford Performance Racing. He's had a pole position. He's had some ripper races. This would mean a lot to him to be able to achieve this. They battle. Davison and Whincup in the 2009 championship. It was a great battle between them. The mates are at it. It's those two guys at the front of the field. It's 6.5 seconds, and it's Ford versus Holden.
And they are going to the line, FPR. They will not refuel. They are pushing on.
And they will be running on the smell, because Davison came in on lap 46. He's got to do 32 laps.
Now 3 of those were under safety car. Maybe almost a 4th, but no way has anybody else been able to do that level of mileage. Well, they had to commit to it, didn't they? And that's what they've done. But they are.
They've had the best fuel economy of the senior teams.
Yep.
So definitely Ford Performance Racing have shown great numbers. That must be an area that they've worked on in the dyno cell back at Campbellfield in Melbourne in the off-season. There we are, Campbell Little on the left, Chris O'Toole, Grant McPherson, Matt Nilsson, Tim Edwards, Mark Roworth. That's the senior management group in at Ford Performance Racing, and conversely down at Team Vodafone, there's Mark Dutton, Adrian Burgess. Here we go, we're on board with the leader. He's blazing through turn 8. He's got a margin of 5.3 seconds. You'll see the red car in the background, there he is. So Whincup has got the lights on, he's in qualifying mode, and Davison's in an economy run.
And Jamie can now be seen by Will in the mirror. Will now knows he's there, physically there.
No doubt, Matt. As soon as you come out of everywhere, he'll be the first guy to flick his eye line up into the mirror to see where those lights are of the red Vodafone Commodore. This is Ford versus Holden. Two very close guys in terms of how they've progressed their careers. They're good mates, and this is on to win one of Australia's biggest races.
1:22.9 for Will Davison was the lap time. That's hardly tardy. That's a good lap time. But what's the comparative time for Whincup? It's a 21.7. He was 1.2 seconds faster on that lap. The margin's now 4.7.
And that's the gap. 1.1, 1.1, 0.9 and 1.2 last 4 laps.
So that's the gain, the green box. So it's Mark Dutton's voice in the background calling the margin between first and second. The message to Jamie Whincup, he's second. We're back on board here with the leader at turn 7.
So Winterbottom's in third. What about the performance from Lee Holdsworth in 4th position in his first drive for the Irwin Tools Ford? Started in 15th spot.
Look how quickly that gap is closing. We just saw it before on the previous lap, remember. That gap's come back already by almost another second. It's 3.88 from 4.7.
The other thing, these guys, both the leaders, Davison and Whincup, have been conservative with their curb hopping. So if they wanted to now, they could actually dip into the bank a little bit and rip through turn 2 a bit quicker.
That's Matt Nielsen on the computer there about fuel economy. You know what you do with a lap to go like that now? Don't worry about the fuel economy. I mean, if it makes it, it makes it. You've got to get on with it.
It's going to be tight. Look at this. 3.8 seconds, the computer says. A 1:23.3, a slow lap time here for Davison, and he's caught up with traffic. Reindler's in front. Here's the margin to Whincup. It's 2.9 seconds, and Jamie did a 21.5 on that lap.
Will Davison's got to get around the car in front of him. David Worley does so now. And that might be critical in the last lap. That might have just been enough to hold him up for just a fraction. He knows that Jamie Whincup is coming. He's running on an oily rag, literally, to get to the end of this race. Will Davison, the Trading Post Ford, looking for his first victory for the Blue Oval. Lights on for Whincup.
Even in the first sector then, Whincup was the best part of a second faster in only the first. Fuel lights come on, that was Will Davison's voice. So it's going to run.
Mate, stay out and just work through the cough, just bring it home.
That's Grant McPherson, his engineer.
Look at the stress levels in both these garages. This is levels of intensity like a Bathurst. This is one of Australia's biggest races.
I don't know, mate. Just you've got 1 lap to go. You've got 1 lap to go. Just drive it to the end.
And Will just asked, what number have I got to hit? It doesn't matter.
Is it hard or not?
You're going to have to, mate. Crowd are on their feet. This is a classic Ford versus Holden battle.
Just stay in front of him. That's an understatement, isn't it?
The elbows are going to have to be wide out for Will Davison to hold off a fast-charging Jamie Whincup. In pit lane, Mark Winterbottom. So a shot at a podium goes begging for Frosty. Now Will.
Look at Jamie's. We know this feeling. This is like a qualifying lap. The lights are up like a Christmas tree. He's sliding the car. He's over the curbs. It's full attack. It's a maximum attack here from Whincup. His sector splits. His sector splits are awesome. That was Will Davison. It's coughing. He's in trouble.
Yeah, mate, just do what you can.
And Whincup will get him.
Bring it home, mate. Unlucky, buddy. Force the message. Bring it home.
They can't believe it. Everybody here can't believe it. The stand absolutely erupted, and you have to feel for Will Davison. He took it all the way to the very final lap. The gamble didn't pay off for Ford Performance Racing, but you've got to applaud this man who's put together one of the most perfect efforts you'll ever see to claim victory in the season opener. Will Davison coughs and splutters into second. He only just made it across the line. And Garth Tander did the splash and dash to get on the podium. That is heartbreaking for FPR.
That's Chris O'Toole.
And that's the flip side at Team Vodafone.
Oh, look at that.
Spent. He's given it everything. The car had nothing left as it crossed the line. And in fact, it's only just made it.
Yeah, it's just 100 metres past where we are, man.
Yeah.
It's just after the finish line. What a drive by this guy today. That is one of the highest level drives I've ever seen him put on. And Will Davison, the harshness, the cruelty of this sport is unbelievable. He deserved a much better result today. He drove very, very well.
It will be physically and mentally shattered. Let's not forget, though, he's finished second in one extraordinary race. Look at him, he can barely walk. That's what this event does. So close. So incredibly close. And I'm just trying to imagine the emotion that Jamie Whincup is going through right now after a stellar drive.
Tim Edwards, it is a sport of gambles. You've got to take them. You've got to have a go. You did that today, just unlucky.
Yeah, look, I mean, we shouldn't be too disappointed at second place, but yeah, we are gutted. You know, we actually thought we had the win in the bag, and literally got the fuel light with 1 lap to go, and she started to cough at turn 8 on that last lap. So we knew we were tight, and yeah, he got to the finish, and obviously just didn't have the pace over the last couple of corners.
Credit to Will today. That was a stirring drive.
Oh, and that's why, you know, he's that middle stint. He had great fuel consumption. You know, he put himself in a good position. I mean, the cars have had great pace all weekend. You know, apart from the shootout, we're fastest in every single session. So, you know, we get a lot of encouragement out of this weekend. You know, we wanted to come out with the podium. A win would have been, you know, the ultimate goal for today. But, you know, we've got tomorrow.
Well done, Tim. Bring on tomorrow, eh?
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, well, they gambled and they just couldn't get there in the end. Absolutely nothing in it. So Tander on the podium as well. Craig Lowndes fought all the way back up into 4th. Lee Holdsworth, as I mentioned, a top 5 finish in his first hit out for Ford. Russell Ingall in 13th. Alex Premier makes his debut in V8 Supercars and finishes on the lead lap in 17th. And Reynolds, Courtney, Douglas and Bright. Jason Bright headed off to hospital after all going into the wall at turn 8. Now, Jamie Whincup's dad, David, passed away last week, so this will be a very emotional time for him. He's a fit young man, but physically this one really hurts. There were times in that race when he did things that no other driver in the series at the moment could have done.
100%, Matt. He is operating at the top of his game, and those sorts of issues, he has bounced back so hard with the family drama from last week, and the real resolve. I think the grit that you've seen him exhibit today, Matt, has put him in a very, very special place in this industry.
Oh, Garth Tander, onto the podium, congratulations. There was a lot going on in front of you, and it turns out your splash and dash worked out all right.
Yeah, we probably spent too long just thinking about it. We should have come in earlier, but yeah, it's a good job that we got back to the podium, so we're backwards and forwards through the race. So I think we can make the car a lot better in race trim for tomorrow, so we'll try qualifying again in the morning and see how tomorrow goes. GT twists and turns everywhere in that race. Oh, that does it every year, doesn't Adelaide? It's fantastic. So congratulations to Jamie. I'm sure this one means a lot to him. So we'll get him tomorrow. And to you too, mate. Well done. Cheers. Thanks. We'll get back across to these two good mates together, Jamie Whincup and Will Davison. Well, step in, boys. Congratulations, Jamie, to you first. Well done. That was some tussle all the way to the end.
Yeah, I don't know what to say, Brett. We had a good car. We went hard, and who knows what was going to happen there. And I didn't think I was going to win until the last half a lap, and I don't know what to say. Will, he didn't make it stupidly difficult for me, so yeah, he's a good mate.
Driving-wise, lap after lap, you just smashed it. You were so on the pace there. You were driven today.
Yeah, you know, all you can do is go out there and do the best you can. And today it was good enough.
Well done, mate. Enjoy the victory.
Thanks.
And Will Davison, makes his way back here. Will, congratulations. Right down to the line, we were just talking to Tim Edwards. You had to roll the dice, you had to have a go, and just didn't work out for you today.
If it was anyone but Jamie, and after the week he's had, I'd be really upset. But I'm shocked for my guys. We've just had an unbelievable car, and I was just driving to a number. I was obviously saving as much fuel as I could those last 28 laps, and I saw Jamie coming, so there's nothing I could do. It was just shattering. But thanks to my boys, thanks to everyone at FPR and Trading Post. It's big day again tomorrow. I'm feeling fresh, and it's a great car.
Great way to start the year up on the podium there in second spot. Will, we started to hear over the radio you were getting the coughs and splutters about turn 8.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, the radio was very ordinary the whole race. I had crackly radio up the front straight, and I'm trying to drive to a number. Shippy's saying, you've got to save this much, and the fuel light came on the second last lap, and I was just in the hands of the gods praying, and when it coughed, I tell you, it was not a nice feeling.
I bet. We'll let you get upstairs and enjoy it with your mate. Well done.
You bet. Thank you.
Nice job, Peretz, who will head up to the podium and take over the duties up there as well. I don't know how they make it up the stairs after all that, because we have to wind all the way back 78 laps, and Craig Lowndes under attack. Let's check out these mother highlights. Garth Tander started from position 2 and shot to the lead early. The first push and shove resulted a lap later in all this mess down at turn 8. Oh my God, that was big for Jason Bright. First of all, it was James Courtney, then it was Taz Douglas, and then Brighty, who's gone off to hospital, but I think he's okay. It was just for a precautionary check. And David Reynolds put his hand up straight away, said, I made that mistake, and it's a tough start on the Ford side of the fence for Davey at the Bottle race team out of Ford Performance Racing. And then Craig Lowndes just all of a sudden started dropping backwards, and by the time we could figure out what it was, well, he showed us with an amazing amount of car control on the way into pit lane with a flat rear left. Unbelievable. It cost him dearly. He ended up just one spot off the podium. And then this battle. By this time, Jamie Whincup had put down lap record time after lap record time. He eventually gets past Will Davison down at turn 9. Team Vodafone breathed a sigh of relief. The grandstand here went berserk. And poor old Will Davison just couldn't go the distance. We've documented the fact that they are good mates. And as I mentioned, it's a very emotional time for J-Dub. He lost his great mate. And his dad, David, had been with him every single step of the way for his race career. So this one will certainly mean a lot up there on the podium.
Ladies and gentlemen, race 1 for season 2012 of V8 Supercars. Would you please congratulate our winner at the Clipsal 500 for Team Vodafone, Jamie Whincup. In second place, Ford Performance Racing's Will Davison. And in third place for the Toll Holden Racing team, Garth Tander. Representing the winning team from Team Vodafone, Mark Dutton. Making the presentation to third place, Andrew Ford, the chairman of the South Australian Motorsport Board. Presenting to Garth Tander. Making the presentation to second place, Damien Cummins, the Executive General Manager, Clipsal by Schneider Electric. Presenting to Will Davison. Making the presentation to the winning team, Bradley White, General Manager, Sales and Commercial, Clipsal by Schneider Electric, our major sponsor. And presenting to our winner, Jamie Whincup, the Honourable John Rao, MP, Deputy Premier of South Australia. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2012 Clipsal 500 Adelaide Race 1 winners.
An extraordinary record. Jamie Whincup collects his 7th race win on the streets of Adelaide.